Hey, from Toronto, this is Angie. For those who don't know me, I was a McKinsey consultant from 2016 to 2019 out of the Chicago office. I was also one of the only 2 international students that received McKinsey offer that year out of my school. In today's video, I want to share the resume that I used to apply back then, and hopefully it can be helpful to you if you're going through the same process. All right, let's get started. Alright, we have not started yet. It is because I want to share 2 best practices that you need to do before working on any resume or submit any of your applications. 1. Do your research and make sure that you know exactly what the company are looking for in terms of qualifications and skills. So in the case of McKinsey, on their website, they clearly stated that they're looking for 4 key skills. 1. Impact. 2. Entrepreneurship. 3. Leadership. And 4. Problem solving. So among the 4, problem solving is probably the one that's going to be a little bit hard to come across in a resume. Typically, this is assessed during a case interview. So definitely make sure that your resume can reflect the top 3 qualifications that they're looking for. 2. Customize your resume. This is so important. A one-size-fits-all resume is not going to work. Please don't be lazy. Now, let's actually get started. So first of all, very quickly, the general sections. I have my name, my contact information, and then breaking it down into 5 different sections: education, work, leadership, research, and skills. Just so you know that this is a personal preference, you don't need to break it down to as many. For example, Rayful, he has his photo up, I didn't have one, so just choose whatever works best for you. However, there are some very high-level guidelines that you want to probably follow as a format. So first of all, make sure that everything is in one page and make sure that it's very clean, very easy to read. And most importantly, for my international students whose first language is not English, make sure that you have no grammar mistakes. So please keep that in mind. Now, let's deep dive into each individual areas. So first of all, let's dive into the education section. Education section is actually one of the easiest sections to do. It's also one where you want to actually highlight your education achievements. So in my case, I went to Northwestern. I was able to achieve both bachelor and master within 4 years, which is why I had both of the degrees up. I also had honors as well from my bachelor program, so I also included there. From a GPA perspective, in this case, I actually rounded up because typically your GPA is 2 significant numbers after the decimal point. But in this case, I thought at the time that it looked better to round it up. But now as a trend resume screener, I can tell you that the difference of 0.05 or 0.1 a lot of times doesn't even really make that much of a difference. And then the other thing to also note is that for a lot of companies, they will probably have different GPA threshold when it comes to your major. So as an example, in Northwestern, if your major is econ, then you're expected to have a much higher GPA to receive the same points when we review your resume versus if you are a major of material science, which was my case. Honestly, now thinking back, I don't really think I needed to include SAT 1 and 2 scores. I don't know why I did it. Nobody really looks at them, so you may not have to include it either. Now, the second section, work experience. As a college student, and especially as an international student, you probably would not have a lot of work experience, let's be honest, because a lot of times companies are not willing to actually sponsor you. So in my case, I was lucky that I was able to get a summer internship. And then the other thing actually I did was I included 2 side projects that I was doing with my friends at the time. It was an entrepreneurial side project, and I thought that experience also highlighted my entrepreneurial drive, and actually I was able to show a lot of impact from that experience, which was why they were both included. In general, your bullet points should be only 1 line long in this case. In some cases, yes, you can expand it to 2 lines. But the reason to have bullet points in general for 1 line is that you can essentially fit more materials in the bullet point. It wouldn't look like that there's a lot of empty space in your resume. And the other tips that I would always give, which a lot of you guys probably already know, is that whenever you start a bullet point, make sure that you are always using some sort of action-driven verb. So in this case, I used advised, identified, developed, accomplished, achieved. So all of these are actually really good verb that can really highlight your achievement and your impact. At the same time, along the same line, make sure that you can also include as many numbers as possible, because as interviewer, you probably only have about 10 to 15 seconds per resume. So again, like right off the bat, my eyes would go to the numbers because that's just the easiest way that draws my attention the fastest. One final piece of advice is that make sure that your bullet points are more about impact, your achievement, but less about the processes. So to be honest, if I were to do this again, I will probably exclude this bullet point because it probably didn't really tell too much of useful information to the interviewer at the time. Now, next section, leadership experience. So this section is more about the school organization that I participated, as well as the leadership experience that I had. To be honest, I don't think I had a lot going on there, but I was still proud that I participated in Women in Leadership Initiative and I did the phonathon, which also then was able to create some impact as well. So if in your case, you are able to achieve some really good roles within school organizations and was able to achieve really good impact, make sure to put it there under leadership experience and definitely highlight that. Finally, actually no, second to last, I have research and product experience here. It is very atypical for people to include this here, but I thought at the time that engineering is actually quite an important identity that I want to have, which was why I included this section. Now looking back, I can probably get rid of this section, which is on the managerial analytics, because again, it's all filler words. It was all about processes. It probably could have been taken out without any impact to the resume. But for example, my research assistant position, I was actually able to win a grant, which was really awesome. So I want to highlight that. And the other thing that was really cool was that I did this Innovation course, which was a combination of the entrepreneur experience as well as the engineering technical experience that I wanted to have. So that was essentially my very first taste into what a startup in material science would actually look like. So again, I thought it was important to highlight that. And last but not least, just skills and interest. So this is also an area which honestly, I don't think it really matters that much. I want to say from a computer standpoint, if you have gone to college, you're a millennial, you probably know how to use Excel, Word, PowerPoint. And also, even if you're not that proficient, like after you join McKinsey or any other consulting firm, you will be so good at Excel and PowerPoint because that is what you do all the time. And then the second piece is the language. Actually, it wasn't that important because I was applying for a North American office. If you're applying for an office in any other country, for example, in Japan, in China, in Germany, in German, then it's probably good to also highlight that. Last but not least, interest. This is the area that I love to read about when I do resumes because sometimes, I love to actually start a rapport with my interviewees just so that I can get to know them better and also ease them up before the interview process. So if you have any interest, please remember to put it there. There's really no harm. Oh gosh, that was a lot of talking. Well, water is important. So in the end, what I want to say is that yes, it is important to work on resume, to practice your interview, to do every single prep that you can. However, don't forget that a lot of the overcomes actually also depend on luck. So for example, this exact resume that landed me an offer with McKinsey actually was not able to secure me an interview spot with BCG, a company at the time I was obsessed with. But in the end, everything all works out. And one final point, I promise I'll shut up after this, is that nowadays consulting companies are looking for people from a variety of different backgrounds. So what I showed here is just one example of my story, my experience, and you can have a completely different set of experience, which is completely okay. So the key here is to really make sure that one, you know exactly what the company is looking for, two, customize your resume, and three, really find your strength, find your unfair advantage, and make sure that your resume can really reflect that. All right, If you like the content today, please hit the like button. It will probably bring you some good luck during the interview process. Until next time, bye!